Welcome to This Week in the PNFL. I'm your host, Mark Hill, and along for the ride is Mitch Grawl and Dean Chambers. Happy holidays, guys. How you doing?
Very good. How are you?
Hey, Merry Christmas.
There you go. Merry Christmas. Doing great, doing great. I hope you guys out there enjoyed your Christmas day, and got everything you wanted underneath the tree as we are getting ready to move into the new year. Hopefully, you guys are getting yourself all set for a happy and safe new year. As for things going on in the league, we just finished up our week 14 games. We're going to go ahead and run through those. We're going to talk about the playoff race coming up, and then we're going to take a look at the week 15 games. From the week 14 games, we have a very interesting mixed bag. So we're going to go ahead and run through all of those things. So if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and jump right into this. First game up on the list, we have New York going into New England to take on the Patriots. And a very close game, but New York ended up taking this game 24-21. We are going to start this week's show off with the coin flip, and it looks like it's Dean.
Yeah, this was a very close game. I could tell that Marsh did some really serious coaching here and nearly came up with an upset of the Jets. And, New England has struggled against the Jets in most of the matchups, but this was a surprisingly close game. The time of possession was pretty even. The overall yards are pretty even. The Jets had one turnover, which almost allowed New England to win this game. It was close, but the Jets do what they do, and in this case, a very close win on the road at New England.
Mitch.
Yeah, definitely closer than anticipated. It looks like New England kind of flip-flop quarterbacks again. It's like 1 week Finley, 1 week Evans out there. So not really sure what that's all about. But overall, tight game, and I would say maybe a New England can build off of the loss if that it's even possible. But anyway, we'll see what happens.
All right. Next
Are
game
you
up.
saying you believe in moral victories?
Do what now?
What?
Are you saying you believe in moral victories? You're talking about building out the loss?
For Mox, probably so, but I don't know. Probably not for everybody else.
Yeah. Next game, we are going to Pittsburgh as the Steelers are hosting LA, and somebody woke up LA as they took this one 47-14. Mitch.
Yeah, this is one. If LA was had any thoughts of wanting to make the playoffs, they had to have this win, and so they definitely laid it all over Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, yardage wise, through the air, looked pretty good, but three turnovers and against a team that was running the ball over 5 yards a carry is never a good thing. And so, I don't know, I don't know if this was luck or if Los Angeles really put in the time, being, that, they supposedly had quit a few weeks ago. But I guess we'll see these next two games if LA has decided to play again. So.
All right. Dean.
Yeah, if this game is what tanking looks like, I want to tank all 19. If this game is what tanking looks like, I want to tank all 19 games of next season. It's a pretty solid win. I mean, yeah, the stats are a bit close to three turnovers, but the scoring was definitely a big difference. And the running game for the Chargers is dominant, 32 attempts for 171 yards. So, if this is what tanking looks like, we need to do more of it.
What's interesting is that 37 first downs, and they only had to have 12 third down attempts to get there.
Right. Yeah, that was outstanding. And I think about the same thing that Dean said. It was like, wait a minute, I thought he said he was tanking. Yeah, that doesn't look like tanking to me, not at all. So
38
Maybe,
minutes and 33 seconds time of possession.
well, maybe Pittsburgh's tanking now. Maybe that's what it is.
yeah, it could be. You never know. Next game up, we have Las Vegas hosting Minnesota. Another high scoring affair, but Vegas came up just short as Minnesota took this one 41-34. We are going to start off with Dean.
Yeah, I'll say something about Las Vegas, who came close in this game. If you'll notice what I posted on the forum today, kind of grading and rating the last rookie class, Las Vegas did the best drafting by that criteria in last year's draft. And I'll say this right now, if Las Vegas continues drafting that way and gets better in the PPPs, this team may become dominant. In this game, Minnesota did beat them by a touchdown, and it was a high-scoring game and good amount of offense by both teams, especially Las Vegas. But again, for those betting in favor and cheering on Minnesota, they got the win this time. But for the future, look out for Las Vegas.
All right, Mitch.
Well, I beg to differ on with Dean on those drafts. I actually had the Raiders in the bottom third of the draft last year, so obviously our criteria does not match. But who would be surprised by that? But I tell you what, if you get a couple of punt returns for touchdowns and average 70 yards a punt return, things are going to go pretty well. And that's why when you look at this the stat sheet, you go, well, how in the world did Minnesota win this game with only converting one third down, only getting 17 first downs, not even generating 270 yards of offense? How in the world did they score this many points? It's called special teams, brothers. And he got two touchdowns off the punts to win that game. And so the Vikes keep rolling. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. Next game up, we have Atlanta hosting Washington. Another close game. I think Washington was predicted to win this one, and they just edged out Atlanta with a score of 20-17. Mitch.
Well, yeah, Washington still seems to be struggling here at the end of the year, but they were able to muscle up, and Kyler Murray had a big day and was able to squeeze out that 3 point victory. No, I can't talk about special teams here like I could in the other game. It was just a hard fought battle. I will say that Washington's defense shut down the Atlanta run game, only 1.6 yards a carry, longest run 7 yards. And so when you can do that to your opponent, puts them in long yardage situations, which are all not, which you can get some, but you can't get them all. So solid job for Washington.
All right. Coach, what happened this week?
With the way Washington's offense have been struggling, then just what the doctor ordered us to go and play the team that has the 16th worst defense, and that's what happened. But it was a close game, and it was 17-13, and then with those last minute and 40 seconds, whatever it was, Washington moved downfield primarily in that one long pass. But there were opportunities, and my team could have scored. I think it was in the second quarter, and one of my receivers caught a third down pass with what looked to be enough yardage to get a first down, and then fumbled the ball. Washington recovered it and marched down the field the other way, and I think scored a field goal. So you take that field goal off of Washington's score, and you put at least a field goal or touchdown, and the other side, and the score is the other way. So it was close. There were opportunities to win. My defense struggled on some occasions, even though it held them to 20 points, but the offense, especially the running game, didn't quite do well in this game, and that made a difference too.
Yeah, I watched. That was one of the games that I definitely watched from start to finish, and I was thinking that you may be able to pull off that upset, but the one thing I noticed definitely was the run game was definitely stymied, and excuse me, was stymied. The passing seemed to be comparable, but I mean, very good game, very close game. Next game we have the New York Giants going into Jacksonville to play the Jags, and the Giants took this one 14-12. Dean.
Yeah, I think just we had just as we were about to award the Giants a berth in the Saco Bowl, they come back and beat Jacksonville.
Yep.
It was a close game. They won by 2 points. There wasn't a whole lot of scoring. Pretty good defense, but you know the Giants have had a rough season after making the playoffs last year, but they're not tanking though. They did win.
Yep. Mitch.
I don't know if you call it not tanking or just lucking into the victory here. Ugly game. I know Jacksonville, those 12 points. I will say that they were happy with old Badgley there, 4 for 4 in their field goals. But overall, I think we were kind of kidding around that this game might be like a 3-0 game, and well, it wasn't 3-0, but it's pretty close. So you know, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that was I think that was when we talked about a real low. I think we did predict that one was a low scoring game. Actually, that was a pick'em game. That's right. That was our pick'em game. The only one that we had for that week. Okay. Next one we have Indianapolis hosting Detroit, and Indy took this one 28-14. Mitch.
Well, Detroit, it looks like a little bit of that luster is starting to tarnish there. After that 8-4 start, now losing two in a row, and both to AFC teams. So I know, that James agrees with me, about the AFC NFC comparison. So it was nice to see that. But Indianapolis has kind of stuck around sneakily. You don't really talk about all of a sudden now they're in the middle of the playoff race, and I know we'll talk about that more in the second segment. So looking forward to sharing my thoughts on Indy here in a few minutes.
All right. Dean.
Well, it did help that Trubisky threw three interceptions, and you have to wonder why. Maybe that's why he's not in Las Vegas anymore.
Mm.
But yeah, this is. I didn't expect this. I figured Detroit would win this game.
Yeah, I think we who did we pick? Yeah, all three of us picked Detroit over over Indy this week. So yeah, they got all three of us. So moving on. Seattle, the joy in Emerald City is over. Seattle hosted Chicago, and Chicago ended up taking this one 49-23. Ouch. Dean.
Well, just like my game, the running game for Seattle didn't do very well. 1.8 yards in this case per run. And though Seattle didn't give up a lot of running, 3 yards per attempt, but both teams obviously were much more effective in the passing game. And but Chicago scored quite a bit more. So
Yep.
it was a tough loss and a good road win for Chicago at Seattle.
Yep. Mitch.
I tell you what, man, you look at this game, and you look at the Seattle offense, and Zach Wilson. You look at that stat line, and you're like, you start going from left to right, and you're like, man, that looks like, Dan Marino. 404 yards on 72% passing, 2 touchdowns. And then you get to that last column, and you go, "Oh crap!" So at some point, he turned into Brock Purdy playing the Baltimore Ravens, threw 3 interceptions, which and add a lost fumble to the mix, and that's stuff to overcome for any team. Led to old Darnold winning Player of the Week with 6 touchdowns. Um, but in spite of the loss, um, as I think Mark, you were saying in the pre-show, if you could just take every second, if you only could play a three-quarter game every week, you'd probably have won 11 games by now. So, you know, we'll see what happens the rest of the way.
Yeah, that one there, that one kind of sting. Like I said, I looked at that and I just saw the second quarter. I'm like, oh God, no, just make it stop. So if I could just eliminate that second quarter and just freeze it, I would have won the game. And let the first, third, and fourth quarter go. I got him beat. So not much on the running front for either team, but definitely it was an air raid.
Well,
That ball was flying all over the field. I think what did you say pre-show was like over 800 yards
yeah,
in
yeah,
passing.
800 yards passing. Well, I
So
mean, you look, Chicago averaged 19 yards per reception.
hmm
So, yeah,
yeah,
so, you know.
so we were definitely winging it back and forth. So
Ratio of 8 touchdown passes to 3 interceptions. Unfortunately, the interceptions were all on one side.
yeah, yep, that you can't win with that. So. Average pass was 9.4 to 9.5 average game for pass. So, yeah, like I said, you said it right, Mitch. The turnovers, no telling what would have happened if we could have pulled those out. But if I could have, would have, should have. So, next game
And
that,
not
yep,
only was it 3 interceptions, Chicago averaged 21 yards interception return. So
yeah,
they flipped the field whenever they did pick it off too.
oh yeah, flipped the field and ran it back, and guys had to have those linemen try to hoof it a little bit extra to go catch up with them. So. Coming down to our final 2 games of Week 14, we have Anaheim hosting San Francisco, and San Francisco took this one 33-20. Mitch.
Well, we had an over/under, I think, last week on whether Anaheim would be able to, get 100 yards passing and complete, over 10 passes.
Yep.
Well, they didn't complete 10 passes. They did, edge the 100 yards in passing yards. And still, we're, within 2 scores of the victory here. San Francisco, solid, game overall, both, balanced on the offensive side. It is telling, though, that the player of the game was the kicker, John Barron, who was 4 for 4 in field goals for the 49ers. So whenever the kicker is player of the game, that kind of tells you how the game went.
Yeah, definitely. Dean.
Yeah, this game was close early on. The two teams traded scores, and I remember at one point it was tied at 17. And then after that, it seems like San Francisco put together several drives that ended up in field goals, and they seemed to kick field goal after field goal after field goal. It was just like, look, San Francisco's kicking yet another field goal. And ultimately ended up winning the game by 13 points, I think mostly on field goals.
Yep. Moving on to our last game. And
Now, this was the shootout of the week right here.
This one here, oh my goodness. It was very entertaining and thrilling from start to finish. You had to have your popcorn. If you blinked, you missed something. You had Kansas City at home hosting New Orleans, and they bested the Saints with a high score of 7-6. That's right, 7-6. Dean.
An absolute shootout.
There you go. Dean.
Yeah, I think the first question is, how does Kansas City move the ball 333 yards and come up with only one score? That's interesting. The Saints get field goals, and excuse me, there was just definitely not a whole lot of scoring here. Net rushing yards of -2 yards for the Saints. That certainly doesn't help at all either. Kansas City rushed for a total of 78 yards, 3 yards per carry. But again, you'd expect a team that moves the ball 333 yards come up with more than just a single touchdown score.
Yep.
It's a lot of moving of the ball without scoring. Again, there was just the one. I thought at one point that the Saints were going to end up winning this game 6-0 until that late field goal. I mean, that late touchdown drive by the Chiefs.
True. Coach, how did you put together such a masterful plan?
Well, the plan, wasn't actually too bad, when you look at it, right? I got what I wanted. I outgained my opponent by 150 yards, had 19 more first downs, held the ball, what is that, like 15 more minutes than my opponent. Hey, and I outscored my opponent. So I think it was a great game.
Yeah, right. You don't even
No,
believe that yourself.
no, they no, definitely had a untimely interception. I think it was inside my 10 or 15-yard line. New Orleans got some pressure and caused a bad pass to be picked off there inside the 15 or the 10, going as I was going in for a score. So that definitely didn't help. And hey, as you can imagine, I had a missed field goal at some point in the game. So keep that streak alive. Again, that's only 10 extra points if those go through. So I'd only be 17. So yeah, not exactly happy with the offense, but my defense. Oh my gosh, that. Ooh, I've been looking for a defensive game like that all season, so I felt really good about that.
That's good. That's good.
Well, you did, after all, play the team that you've been telling us week after week is one of the best teams in the league.
Well, they are one of the best teams in the NFC. They're still right in the hunt, 7-7.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be playing golf week 17, perhaps.
Yeah, probably. But we will segue, we will pivot over to that and we will discuss that right now. So, with 2 weeks left in the season before we jump into the playoffs, looking over into the AFC side, you have the Jets leading the conference overall at 12-2. Kansas City over in the West Division is falling right behind at 10-4. Next ones in line is Minnesota at 8-6, and then you have a log jam with Indy, New England, LA, and Pittsburgh, all sitting at 6-8. Over in the NFC, you have Chicago sitting atop at 12-2. Right behind them is Washington in the East at 11-3. Then you have Detroit at 8-6. San Francisco at 8-6, and then you have New Orleans at 7-7. So as we go through this with this overview right now, we're gonna knock this around a little bit and get your guys' take on it. We're gonna start with Dean this time.
Yeah, I think the key issue is that last playoff spot in the AFC. The Jets and Chiefs are probably the top two seeds in that order. And Minnesota will get in at 8-6. They're 8-6 now. It could be 10-6 or 9-7 when we get in. But then you have that tie at 6-8. And the way things are looking this past week's games, I would say the Chargers probably stand the best chance of getting that. They're going to play Washington and then Pittsburgh again. And, Washington is kind of struggling a bit late in the season, as they often do. We're not really sure what Pittsburgh is doing. So, the Chargers could go 2-0 and improve to 8-8 and get that last spot in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. You look at the NFC, I think Chicago and Washington are the top two seeds, probably in that order. And then it looks like Detroit and San Francisco are the wild cards. I don't know who has the tiebreaker between the two of them. The Saints have an outside shot. They're currently a game behind at 7-7. But when you look at who they're playing the rest of this season, they are playing.
Anaheim and Seattle, very winnable games for New Orleans.
Yeah, they're winnable. They're also losable. I mean,
Well, all games are winnable or losable. That's not saying much.
but Anaheim has won some games and lost some games, and they're very capable of winning that game. And Seattle can definitely beat the Saints. I mean, Seattle's beaten tougher teams this season. So, it's not, if you're saying, oh, the Saints go 9-7 and get in, not so fast. And, that assumes that either Detroit or San Francisco are going to lose a game. It's anyone's guess. San Francisco has Detroit and the Giants. They may beat the Giants, but, the Giants have beaten the 49ers. And then the game between San Francisco and Detroit, that could possibly go either way. And Detroit has San Francisco. And then Detroit finishes at home against Washington. And, I wouldn't say it's an easy pick on who wins that either.
True.
So, but it seems more likely than not. Let's say if all three of those teams go 1-1, then San Francisco and Detroit get the two wildcard spots.
Yep. Mitch, what's your take on this?
All right. Well, as I'm looking at this, I think New Orleans definitely sets up for the better chance to get in to the playoffs, even though they're one game behind San Francisco and Detroit right now. And I say that just because when you look at, you got San Francisco and Detroit, one of them is going to lose one game, right? I guess that they could have a tie, but one of those teams is going to have a loss, right? And then so that's there you go, right? So you already know that somebody is going to go at least 1-1 at best between those two teams. And then you look at San Francisco. If San Francisco wins and beats Detroit, they have to finish up with the Giants, which very winnable game for them. They could go 9-7, whereas Detroit has to finish up against Washington, which, even though they've struggled recently, still a much tougher team than playing the Giants. Or we look at New Orleans' schedule. So I very easily see New Orleans sneaking in at 9-7, and Detroit, after a strong start, Detroit stumbling out of the playoffs. I could see it. I ain't gonna say it's gonna happen. I'm just saying I could see that as a strong possibility. Now on the AFC side, oh my goodness gracious, what a log jam that is there,
yeah.
right? Yes, log jam. But here's something. I'll go back to what I was saying earlier during our Week 14 recap. Indianapolis, I don't think we really talked about them much this year. They've, let's just be honest, they've struggled a lot in the first 8 games of the season, but they've quietly snuck themselves back into contention. And since, the midway point of the year, they're 4-2. Since week 8. I call it the All-Star break. They're the 4-2 since the All-Star break. They're got themselves at 6-8. Kind of that 4-way tie for that last spot. And again, you look at who they're playing here in these last couple of weeks, right? They get the Giants, they get Las Vegas. 2 teams right now that are in the kind of fighting out for the first round draft pick this year. So again, very winnable games. Again, they could lose, but very winnable on paper for Indianapolis to finish up 8-8. You look at New England and what they have left on the schedule there the rest of the way, and Minnesota, Atlanta. I think it's a possibility that they would lose at least one of those 2 games, right? And so that would knock them out if Indianapolis finished 8-8. You look at Los Angeles. Definitely right now after the big win against Pittsburgh, definitely they're on a high, but they get Washington and Pittsburgh. Again, two teams that could very easily see them losing at least one of those two games. That put them at 7-9 and out of it if Indianapolis wins out. And then you look at Pittsburgh; they get Las Vegas and Los Angeles out of this mix. And so, if Pittsburgh were to actually win out, I believe that they would. They I don't know. Yeah, if they win out, they would. They have the tiebreaker against Indianapolis, so they'd actually get in. So I'm going to lean on. I think Indianapolis is going to sneak their way in back into this. We'll find out. They'll probably come out and stub their toe here this week and prove me wrong. But I don't know. I think Indianapolis is going to been sneaky effective here the second half of the year, and I think they might just sneak in the back door to the playoffs. We'll see what happens though.
Uh,
Two things to watch out in these next couple of weeks. One is, as you all may remember, the Giants and 49ers played late in the season, which the 49ers had a chance to play spoiler, and the Giants won that game over the 49ers that allowed them to get in the playoffs. This game between the Giants and 49ers could be just the opposite. The Giants will have the chance to play spoiler, and will they play spoiler, or will the 49ers remember that last season and return the favor?
mm,
That New England at the New England at Atlanta game.
yeah,
Well, we remember that 50-24 score at New England last season, and the Falcons may be in position to play the spoiler. And as Mark always says, misery loves company. So
that's right.
Yeah,
Misery loves company.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's I'm looking at Atlanta this week, and looking at New Orleans next week. So yeah, misery loves
yeah.
company.
Yeah, so like I said, this, I think we all agree right now, it is a two-game season for a lot of the teams in both conferences. And when you get into the weeds on it, um, teams that you thought might have been dead 3 or 4 weeks ago, right now have a pretty clear path if they can take care of their own business.
Yep. And I have to agree with you guys when you mentioned about Indy kind of sneaking in there. Um, that is a good possibility. My question is, what's LA going to do? What is Steve going to do? Steve was frustrated a couple weeks back, said he was throwing in the towel, but then what was it? He hung like a 40 spot last week in this past week's game. So, and he is still in the thick of it right now. So, he's in there. He's above Pitt, and I'd say he's probably above New England, and probably battling out with Indy. I mean, in the conference, going in the conference, they are at 5-6. Um, Indy's at 5-5. So, I mean, there's some things that's kind of
Well, and,
sketchy.
and I'll tell you something else that's interesting too.
Hmm.
Another team that beat Pittsburgh up like Los Angeles did this past week. Indianapolis beat them 35-7 just a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We'll see. Los Angeles might be rejuvenated after that big win. We'll see. And if
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, I think Los Angeles very well could make their way in there. But right now, I think the easiest path on paper is Indianapolis.
Yeah.
if the Chargers and Colts are tied at 8-8, who is the tiebreaker?
If Indy and let's see here. Oh, where are they at? Los Angeles will get the tiebreaker if they both were 8-8.
That's
Yeah,
what I
Los
thought.
Angeles beat Indy 28-19 in Week 6.
Mm,
So if they
something.
both finish 8-8, yeah,
Yeah.
LA gets in.
That's what I thought. That's what I
Yeah.
thought. All right, guys. We're gonna slide that over to the side for now. We will definitely have more information next week as the picture gets much, much clearer next week. So,
Maybe.
uh, yeah, maybe. Okay, maybe. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Let me back up. Maybe. So, we're gonna move
Depends
over.
on who wins this week.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We're gonna move over into our final segment. That's coming up with the Week 15 games. A lot of good games that are on slate, are on deck. Basically, there's a pick'em game in there as well. There'll be some trash talking going on. I'm quite sure of that. But before we get into that, overall, looking at the season so far, Mitch is leading at 84 and 42 for the season. I'm sitting at 69 and 57, and Dean is in third at 60 and 66. For the lead pipe locks for the season, I'm still holding on at 7 and 4. Mitch is sitting, I mean, excuse me, at 10 and 4. Sorry, at 10 and 4. Mitch is at 7 and 7, and Dean is at 6 and 8. So I think it's official. I think I could probably claim the title, the lead pipe lock title for this season, at because Mitch can't catch
Oh,
me on that one. So
oh, you're tanking. You're going to tank the lead pipe locks
yeah,
now.
I'm gonna take the lead pipe lock right now. So yeah, that's that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take it. There you
Run
go.
out the clock, taking a knee.
Yep, there you go. Just run it out and hang on there for a little bit. So all right. So as we move into the actual games, the first one that we have on the list for week 15, this one should be a good one, I think. We have Chicago hosting the Jets. The Sporting Books is giving Chicago 2.5. We're going to start with you, Mitch.
I always see this game. In my eyes, it's always going to pick them. It's because I think they're both, equally strong, equally good, and are capable of beating anybody, anytime. So I'm going to go with the fact that I need Chicago to win. And so I'm going to take Chicago as a wishful pick. One, they're at home. Obviously, that gives them advantage on a big win streak. And if I can win this week and the Chicago wins, then that sets up the Kansas City Jets game next week for the number one seed in the AFC. So I don't know. That would be kind of cool to have in week 16.
All right. Dean.
As almost always happens when these two teams play, the Jets will win.
Okay. For me, like I've said, most of the season, the Jets are going to do what the Jets are going to do. I think they're going to plan it out. It could be another shootout, as in last week's game, or the Jets can come with some kind of way to get the running game going and break through that log jam. So I'm going to take the Jets on this one. Next game, we have the Giants hosting Indy. They are giving Indy 7.5. Dean.
Yeah, I think Indianapolis is going to win this game. I think they're moving in the right direction and sense that they have a shot at going 2-0 these last 2 weeks and getting in the postseason. So they're going to be highly motivated and will win. They might even cover the spread.
Okay. Mitch.
Well, after my big dissertation and on Indianapolis, I'm taking the Giants. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I'm going with Indianapolis this game. I think Indy will find a way and make the Week 16 meaningful for the fans of the Colts.
Okay. I will concur with you guys as well. I'm going to be taking Indy to win this game and keep their march alive going into the playoffs. Next one, we have Mitch's favorite team as he puts his pom poms, gets his pom poms out. You have Minnesota hosting New England. They are giving Minnesota 8.5. We are going to start with you, Mitch.
Hang on, hang on. Skull, skull,
Oh, here we
skull.
go. Here we go.
And again,
Yeah, you know what? That didn't help. That didn't help the NFL Vikings last Sunday or this last week. So yeah.
I'm gonna take the Vikings to put a nail in the Patriots playoff coffin this week, and win it at home.
All right, Dean.
Yeah, I'm going to ride that train this week and pick Minnesota to win also.
Okay. Um, I would normally when we go up against Mox always finds some kind of way to pull it out. He's just like, well, we don't think he's going to win. Then we turn around and be like, oh crap, he did win. He needs this game. Um, there's a playoff spot on the line, so he's going to be putting in the extra effort. But with all that being said, I think Minnesota is going to take this one. I don't think it's going to be by that spread. I think it's going to be a much tighter game. But I do think the Vikings are going to take this game.
Well, hey, if New England can just cover punts, they might win based on the game that Minnesota played against Las Vegas.
Yep. Yep. Definitely. Next game we have Kansas City hosting Jacksonville. They are giving Kansas City the largest spread of the week at 10.5. Dean.
Well, the Chiefs are going to be honored to take the field with Jacksonville.
Oh,
Jacksonville is going to be really tough this week. They're going to play tough. They're going to put in a real effort. But at the end, Chiefs are going to win, but they won't cover the spread.
Okay. Mitch.
Well, that's pretty much every week as far as the spread goes. But yeah, this definitely the game of the week. You've got the mighty Jaguars from Jacksonville, who I think last year it was a one-score game. We played. I was able to squeak out at the end, and so they tend to play some tough run defense, and so that's going to be hard to overcome. And you think about last week, my goodness gracious, 72 plays I could add, and only found a way to score one touchdown. So apparently I'm allergic to the end zone. So this is probably a pick 'em game, but I guess I'll take Kansas City to win this one.
All right. Um, this is the third one in a row that we were all agreement on. I am going to take Kansas City to take this game. I think that spread is way too large, but nonetheless, I do believe that they are going to take this game. Next one that we have Washington hosting LA. One team is already cruising, another team is having to fight. This is coming down to a do or die. They are giving Washington 6.5. Mitch.
Yeah, this one, in all seriousness, this was tough because, Washington's got the division locked up, but they're still, in a battle for that top seed if Chicago can, you know, stumble here towards the end. So I think they're going to want to play. At Los Angeles, I'm going to say they're going to want to play too. I know I've been skeptical based on what Steve's been saying, but I think that win this past week against Pittsburgh probably got them excited again. Feeling a little confident. That being said, I'm going to take the Redskins. I think Jerry is determined to work and get his team back on track, and this would be a great team to do that with in a good way. Not saying Los Angeles is down, but I think this would be a good team for Jerry to get himself back on track with. So I'll take Washington.
All right. Dean.
Not so fast. I think I think Steve can look at that game at Atlanta last week and look at what Washington did and find plenty of ways to win this game. So I think the Chargers are going to win this game. Not only are they going to win, but I'm putting a lead pipe lock on it.
Ooh-hoo-hoo. Okay. Um, what I see on this one, again, like Mitch said, they're already cruising. Washington's cruising along. They're going to be in that fight to try to get that number one seed. Only thing is, there is no buys in this week, so only thing that number one seed is going to do is just have the games go out there. So, and they could get a little extra boost by playing in their stadium. On the flip side, LA needs this game. I have to agree with Dean that this last week's victory might have woken up the giant and trying to get the juices flowing again for him to say, "Hey, I got to go ahead and start fighting for this again and jump myself back into this thing and not just go out all just kind of go out with a whimper." So good game, two good teams, but I got to concur with Dean, and I am going to be taking LA, and it's going to be a yin and yang where Dean has his curse, his lead pipe lock curse, and I have that lead pipe lock blessing. So one of these two has got to give because I'm putting my lead pipe lock on this one as well. So it's good
Well, you
versus
know something.
it's good versus evil, curse versus blessing.
Well, you know something. The best thing for the Redskins is to play their playoff games on the road and hope it's in a dome, because they play at home and it rains, and you know what happens.
Exactly.
So that
Exactly.
getting the number one seed for the Redskins may not be so much of a good thing.
That's why I mentioned it. Next game up, we have Pittsburgh hosting Vegas. They are giving Vegas 6.5. Dean.
Yeah, this is going to be an upset. The Raiders are going to win, and I will say, watch out for the Raiders next season.
Okay. Mitch.
I think Dean said watch out for the Raiders next season, last season, and they're 4-10. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh again, a team that needs the win, and it's at Pittsburgh. So we'll see what happens, but I'll take Pittsburgh.
Okay. I'm going to be taking Pittsburgh as well for the same reason that Mitch stated that they need this victory. They are in a dogfight and they have to keep pace. They have that outside shot, but the thing is, they do have a shot. So, they're you have four teams basically fighting for one spot, so they're all going to be scrapping for that one. Next game up, we have San Francisco hosting Detroit. They are giving San Francisco 3.5. Mitch.
You know what? Based on what I was saying before, I'm going to take San Francisco. I think Detroit has hit the wall, and San Francisco is going to take this game at home. So let's go Niners.
All right, Dean.
Detroit is going to win this game, and they're going to force the 49ers to have to beat the Giants the following week to still get in the playoffs.
Ooh, um, this is a tough one. Detroit's on a two-game losing streak. Frisco won, so they're getting back on track again. Um, mm, this is a very difficult one to pick. I think depends on which Charlie's going to show up. If by looking at the points, Charlie's put up more points. I'm going to take Frisco on this one. Um, I'm I'm not 100% certain on it, but I'm leaning San Francisco, so I will go ahead and go with San Francisco. I think this could probably easily be the game of the week, depending on how they prepare for it. Final two games, we have Anaheim hosting New Orleans, with New Orleans spread being 7.5. Dean.
Yeah, this is an upset special right here, too. The Rams are going to win. That spread is way too big, but I think the Rams just won't. It won't be an issue of not covering the spread. I think the Rams are going to pull on an upset and win this game.
Okay. Mitch.
Saints.
Okay. Uh,
Screaming towards the playoffs.
I hate to say it, but I gotta lean towards the Saints as well. This is another one of those games where the team has to have it. So, last game of week 15. It is a inter-office, inter-podcast rival. It is a pick'em game. You have Atlanta hosting the victors for this week's game, Seattle Seahawks. We're going to start with Mitch. Like that?
I've been doing analysis for the last 3 weeks on this game, really trying to decipher who's going to have the edge, who's going to be overcome, some of the obstacles that are out there. Both teams are dome teams, so going on the road, we know the Atlanta stadium is always empty, so that's crowd noise won't be a factor for Seattle. So I'm looking at this, and I think, what is the one thing that is driving my thoughts here? And that's the fact that the more Dean loses, the higher the draft pick I get for next season. So lead pipe lock, Seattle is going to win this game and
Wow.
help me get a higher pick next season. So there we go.
Wow. That's so you're only picking us just because you want that high round pick, huh? Draft pick.
Yep, that's pretty much it. Yep.
Okay. Dean.
Yeah, I can't condone that at all. No, the stadium's not going to be empty. It's going to be full. It's going to be loud, and it's going to be rocking because the fans are in for a surprise. There's going to be something unexpected that'll happen in this game. So it'd be tough, though. It'd be close, but home field advantage counts for something, and home team is going to find a way to score a couple more points.
All right. Now,
I
if
think we could have our first 1,000 combined passing yard game here this week. I think between these two teams.
now as the hometown team's head coach would say, not so fast. We had a nice 3-game stretch. We had some mistakes in that last game. If we could have just eliminated that, no telling what would have happened. There were some games early on this season that were real close, but then in the middle of the season, the wheels just pretty much fell off, and we had to kind of reset ourselves back to basics. We had some success with that, so I think what we'll do is keep that same formula going, just sticking with the basics, eliminate plays that don't suit what we need to do, and just put together a good plan and just play our game. That's it. Play our game, run our plays, and let everything go from there. So with that being said, go Hawks.
Just remember, Mark, that if you win out, even though you won't make the playoffs, you'll take your team from being bad to mediocre, and that's something to feel good about, right there.
You're just glad that you don't have to play me, because when I was over in the AFC side, we always ended up splitting. I think one season
Uh,
you swept me, and the other one it was always
uh,
1-1. So
I
yeah.
know my record's gotten a lot worse since you and Dean left the West. I wish y'all come back. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
geez.
yeah, 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 yeah. See, we know what really stifled you, because when we were there, yeah, you were being stumped and stifled. Now you're staying on top of the world. You're like, whew, I'm glad they're gone. Whew, get out of here, get out of here.
Until
Oh,
Pittsburgh and Las Vegas start winning more.
yeah. Vegas gonna start winning more. I don't know. Maybe
Uh-huh.
It's gonna be a lot tougher in the AFC West.
I don't
And
know.
maybe they ought to put all of us in one division again. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, Pittsburgh keeps getting the best rookie class every season in the draft. I mean, Las Vegas, rather. That will make things tougher for some of you folks over there.
I don't know. I think we disagree on how those ratings are done, but we'll see.
I don't know. Maybe I can petition to see if I can go back into the AFC, go to the AFC West next season. Uh, huh. Interesting. Or I might, or may go to Denver. Move Denver over there.
Oh, jeez.
Who
Yeah.
knows? Who knows? Who
Who would
knows?
move out of the division
Do
if
what
he
now?
became Denver, go to the
I don't.
AFC?
I don't want to lose anybody who's already in the division. See, well, here's the thing: if we
Well,
realign, we've
Minnesota
got to
would have
keep
to
me,
move to,
Barney, and Steve together. So
well,
you know, me,
Minnesota
Barney,
would
and
have,
Steve have to be together because we beat the snot out of each other all the time.
no,
So
Minnesota would have to move to the NFC West to play the traditional rivals there. That would make the most sense.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota, who's a traditional rival in the NFC West for Minnesota?
There
I
isn't.
don't see anybody in that. The only traditional rival for Minnesota is Detroit. They're in the East.
Yeah, Detroit or Chicago. Detroit, Chicago, or
Maybe
Green
I'll
Bay
maybe
take
I'll
it
cha-
back.
maybe I'll change the Chiefs to Green Bay, and that way you'll have Green Bay, Minnesota in the AFC West.
Kind of a long travel. Or maybe Minnesota may even move somewhere else. Who
Yeah,
knows?
or I'd be the Chicago Bears, but for some reason we had the Chicago Cardinals.
Yeah. So that wouldn't work. So, all right,
Maybe we could,
guys.
we could move both Green Bay and Minnesota to the AFC West.
Hmm.
I mean NFC West.
There you go.
Interesting. I don't know.
Not sure which teams you would move out of that division.
But as long as we take Minnesota and Los Angeles with us, that'd be fine.
Hmm. Possibly. All right, guys. We're gonna wrap this thing up right now. We have some, the Seattle staff has some work that we still have to do to go ahead and you know put that nail in Atlanta's coffin and you know help them or help Kansas City get that early round
Yeah,
pick.
help
So
me get that number one draft pick because I've already got the person ready to pick, ready to go. I got my card ready if I get that number one draft pick.
okay, dang, not the number one pick. Ooh,
If you get that number one pick, it'll be the last one you get unless your own team tanks the season.
yeah. All right, as we come to wrap this up, Dean, what's your final words as we close out?
I would just say good luck to everyone in their games this weekend.
All right, Mitch, any final words before we go home?
Yeah, I hope everyone's having some time away from work or whatever y'all are doing and having some fun. And I look forward to the games this weekend. So until then, let's get it.